Hello, my name is Kedar Ahmed, and you're watching rptv News. The Social Development Plan, SDP, is a roadmap for building a successful mixed-use community in Regent Park. Grounded in respect, belonging, communication, social inclusion, and social cohesion. The February the 20th SDP meeting focused on strategic planning, unresolved business proposals, shaping cultures through training chats, and incident forms. Let's watch as members discuss freedom of speech within discussions and time limits for agenda points.
To discuss about thank you very much. We are going to discuss about the locations, content, foods, events, and the other, okay, I'm just like, all right. And the other logistics. Could you please scroll down if we have something? Yes. And then at the end, we have the announcements about the strategic planning, funding committees, business proposal items that have not yet been approved, shaping cultures, training chat, incident form, and then evaluation and benchmarks.
Is Richard coming today?
Is everybody?
Yes.
Yes, Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane, we have announced it at the beginning. The Richard will join us, a little bit later. He is busy.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you very much. So based on the agenda, everybody is agree with the agenda. We are going, to start it. If you are not agree, or is there any problem in any part of the agenda for today, please raise a hand, come up and speak up, please. All right, I don't see any hands. I don't see any objections. So that will give the absolute 100% consensus about the agreement of our agenda items for today. Thank you very much. Could you please scroll up a little bit, Brandy? That I want to see. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, just a little bit up. Yeah, up. I'm going, to the introduction of the timing of each items. We want to talk, no. Just go down a little bit. Yes, go down. Just what? Yeah. Thank you very much. Perfect. All right. The introduction of the timing for each items. As we have noticed in the previous meetings that normally when we start speaking and talking or maybe discussing about the topics of the agenda, one agenda sometimes it will take long. So based on those, to save a timing and reach to the better agreement, faster agreement, we have decided to provide the timing for each item. That's why we are putting the timing beside each and every agenda items. For example, when I'm going to introduce the timing and remind about the behavior in the chat, I'm going just talk about 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes, or maybe about 8 minutes, after the 8 minutes, we have to get the consensus, and then everybody should be agree, or maybe we will decide that agenda items will be discussed in the next or next to next, or maybe outside the meeting somewhere in other timing. So that's why we have to be considered about the timing that we are putting beside each and every agenda items. So this is about the agenda items, and as you can see, we have put the different timing, which even for the budgeting, we are going to discuss around the 1 hour from 1:10 to 2:10 p.m. And the next agenda items, which it was upcoming stakeholder table meetings, 2:10 to 2:45, and after the 2:45, we are going to talk about the decision it should be taken, or maybe other agenda items that we have to discuss about it. So please be mindful of the timing, and when we ask you for the consensus, if you are agree or even if you are not agree, you have to take the decision, and the decision it will be taken by the full member of the committee who are presented at this moment, and we will decide what we have to do. This is about the timing. Thank you very much. Now I am going about the reminder about the behavior in the chat.
No, I want to say
yes,
something
Michael?
about the timing.
Yes, please, Michael, go ahead.
So I don't know how other people are interpreting this, but sometimes it's a good idea to leave some agenda item to a future meeting and to finish an item that will take longer than the time. So I don't want to see this become a change in procedure that we have like absolutely agreed on. I think the timings, we either need a very complicated procedure that explains, when items should be continued, when they should be deferred, when another item should be deferred. And it's impossible to make a procedure that covers all possible cases. So I think we should just take this as a suggestion, and maybe at some point we can work out like guidelines for when items should be deferred or when they should be continued. But I don't think we can just suddenly move from having no timings to having absolute timings, because both of those options would be wrong. So I hope this is being interpreted as something that is still flexible until we sort of work out either a more detailed prescription or we understand that it has to remain flexible.
Thank you very much, Michael, for the input that you are putting. Definitely we can, a little bit, go for it, but we have to be a little bit restricted that we have found it. We do not have much time, for arguing only one item, and other items always are behind. So that would be good. Sometimes the restrictions is bring the more of a discipline, to the committee, and that discipline help us to get, forward. But definitely we consider your points, and we will be in some points or maybe item agenda flexible. And thank you very much, Gail, for joining. Welcome you. Now, another things that I would like to discuss about that's a reminder about the behavior in the chat. Some of the members of the committees, they have felt that when we are arguing and discussing, talking about the agenda items, some of the members, they are finding it inappropriate to write a unpleasant type of the remarks in the chats. So we would like to request everyone, as we have our respected committees over here every time, and we have the shaping culture. In the shaping culture, we have mentioned about the behavior, how we have to speak out, how we have to mention that it should not be someone hurts, or we should not really overcome our problems, to the committees, or bring out the other problems to the committees, and just showing in a different ways to other people by talking very unpleasantly, or maybe those written forms, chat, suggestion, it could hurt the sense of the being as a committee, or being as the group, or maybe being as the cohesion and collision people that we are over here, and we want to do something productive, that it cause the hurt for other people. So we request, be mindful of whatever you are mentioning in a chat. It can be much more politer than the normal or usual words that you are using, or maybe the words that you are using, it should be more respectful. That's the things that we are all should be agree on upon. And I request all the members of the committee to get the absolute understanding of this matter, that it doesn't matter even if you do not speak out, but maybe the writing, it would be hurtful, it would be disrespectful for the other member of the committee. Then please, be respectful of the whatever you are mentioning in the chat. That's it that I wanted, to discuss about this. And I think the time for these 2 points are over. And I would like, to go to another points, but before I'll go, I would like to know if anyone has any suggestion for this. Despite this matter, to me, it's very, very clear. Just we have to be mindful whatever we are writing in the chat. It's not a really big deal. It's not a really difficult, task. And I understand all of us are very grown up, that we understand what does that mean when you speak out in a different language on a chat. It could be hurtful for others. Yes, Miguel, please go ahead. Thank you very much. I see your hand.
Well, we're touching a very sensitive topic because this is could be taking as an infringement of my freedom of speech and expression. So I just want to be careful about that. Just because you disagree with I said, or sometimes I put on the chatting for clarification purposes, this cannot be constructed as offensive language when you are putting out a truth to a topic that nobody wants to talk about. In like the elephant in the room, right? The bullying that goes on in this committees, the threat of everybody's being a bully, and by the way, do we have a name for that person who got offended for a chat conversation? Because I want to know if that person would like to convey, I would like to request mediation with that person if he or she feels that I have offended on my chat. A mediation is also an alternative, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miguel. I appreciate your input. I understand sometimes it's not the matter of the being agree or being disagree. It is just about the language of the writing in the chat. The language, the words that you are using.
Even in supporting language now that we got translators available now, if someone puts something in a foreign language.
It's me, Elena. You
Sarah Jane, please, we have the hands up.
I do.
Please, raise your hands.
I did raise my
Yes,
hand.
then you can speak.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't see because there is nothing, on the screen, from your hand. But by the time I'm not getting a name, please, do not jump because we do not understand if we, too many people talk at the same time. One person at a time. Please go ahead if you raise your hand, and then Gail, and then Marlene. Sarah Jane, go ahead, please.
So far, Elena, you've spoken most of the time we have left. I'm not talking about hurting one's feelings. I'm talking about vicious things in the chat, unmistakably vicious, with a person not even present. So I don't want to pursue this further. There are records of our meetings. This is a vicious attack on somebody not present. Vicious, not permitted in any normal discourse.
Thank you very much, Sarah Jane. We heard you. If there is any problem that it could be helped with the mediator, definitely we would love, you approach them and you talk to them if you feel that way. But at this moment, we have the, Gail hands and Marlene. Gail, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Gail,
I
are
think
you ready to speak out? Yes.
And as we discussed in the prep for this meeting, this is something that needs to go to the Shaping Cultures, right? That's the next meeting. But I would agree with Sarah Jane that did transpire. So now you have someone saying, okay, I can say whatever I want. That's my freedom of speech. So, yeah, you can say what you were saying here, which is great. But now you have people saying, no, I'm not going to stop. That's my freedom of speech. So to me, that says there's not, maybe there's a misunderstanding. Maybe there's a misunderstanding with what is trying to be conveyed here. So when we're saying, no, we don't want to put times on. Well, one person saying that, and the other is, no, I can say whatever I want. So, I mean, it's not like these things didn't happen. They did happen, right? And everybody's going to have an opinion. But, I think this simply just really needs to be with Shaping Cultures so that we can kind of go forward from there. I don't know that we can solve it here, just even based on this initial conversation now, where people are saying, no, I can say what I want.
Thank you very much, Gail. Just please wait, Michael. We have the Marlene hands up. Marlene, please go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. I don't buy this freedom of speech nonsense. I'm sorry. You can't take the same language everywhere you go. There are and the same way that you do outside and call it freedom of speech. this is a meeting and we're asking that decent, conversation happen without attacking. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, people are being bullied, yeah, well, some of the bullying is happening right there in the chat, and call it what it is. It's bullying. And you can't gloss that over by saying freedom of speech. That's not your freedom of speech. Go outside and have your freedom of speech. Let's have a little decency. I'm tired of seeing these things on the.
Thank you very much, Merlin. Raised thank you for joining us, and I welcome you to today's planning committee meeting. Raised. Now, Michael, please go ahead.
Okay, so I think the original intention was to just remind people that there are some issues with the chat, but we're not making rules by just having the facilitator announce rules, and we're not making, this was going to be referred to the Shaping Culture Committee to do a better consideration of what should change or should not change. So I think this item was only intended to be a reminder that there are some problems. It wasn't intended to have anybody prescribe right here and now what the solutions to those problems are or what is or is not allowed. That can be referred for further discussion before there's actually any change in procedure. And I think the same thing should apply to the timing issue, which came up earlier. We don't make decisions by having the facilitator announce something. We make a decision, we have a discussion, and then we come to a conclusion. So this item on the chat was supposed to be referred to the Shaping Culture for further analysis. That's what we should do. And in the meantime, it's just a reminder that not everybody is currently happy with the situation.
Thank you very much, Michael. As maybe you are not able, to see. I'm not sure. If you see the agenda on the screen, it has mentioned that's a reminder, and it was an introduction. Now, as a facilitator, I have a responsibility to tell what it has been, and even I have mentioned. I'm not sure that you listen or not. That it should be discussed and should take the consensus. Regarding the other Shaping Culture, if Brandy, please just scroll a little bit to the bottom of the page. We have mentioned, yes, the announcement that's a Shaping Culture, which is including a training chat incident form. So everything, it is on the agenda, and it was the introductions. And if anybody has noticed and look at the screen, they will see all those things. But thank you very much for reminding us. I appreciate it. All right. At this moment, okay, now, as we have, talked, it should be, discussed. Okay, Sarah Jane, you have, hands up. Before I go ahead, please go ahead.
Okay. Is there a Shaping Culture meeting? And is somebody in charge of it? I thought that we were going to give that to Joel, who wasn't present. So maybe he should speak about, is there going to be, or does this just lie in the ether for another year?
Thank you, Sarah Jane. Yes, Joel, go ahead.
I'll put out an email after this meeting to pull together a meeting for next week.
Thank you very much, Joel. I appreciate. Yes, then everybody will receive the email from the Joel for the next meeting. And Miguel, please go ahead.
Yeah, I am flabbergasted by the comments that Sarah Jane made before about the horrific and horrendous and all kinds of adjectives attached to the conversation with regards to chat. I will appreciate if she can share with us evidence, like screenshots or voice recording or anything, so that we understand what evidence that she's trying to convey to us. Because right now she's speaking about minutes, and I never seen it, and I don't know if I should ask a lawyer to review those comments and find out if this is whether it's an infringement of freedom of speech or totally misunderstanding, or I don't know, like I know I had to ask for a disclaimer. If I ask to speak, I don't know what to say, because if I say something that is constructive, it can be turned into an aggression to somebody. Like, so difficult now is becoming to have a voice in this community. Everything is being filtered out as you are the enemy.
After discussing freedom of speech and meeting structure, the focus shifted to presenting Richard Kirwan with 4 key business cases. A $1,250 baseline for the SDP, a communication strategy to record and archive meetings with Focus Media Arts, honoraria for working group co-chairs, and funding for administrative roles after May the 31st, 2025. Let's watch as the members discuss these cases and meet with Richard Kirwan.
So to discuss the stakeholders item, we are still awaiting Fareed's decision on whether we have the location, but I did send about 4 days ago. A week ago, I sent the proposal for the stakeholder tables meeting. So for the original 4 meetings for the year at $1,250 each for $5,000, and we're just waiting approval. So when I asked him to join us here today at the planning committee, we were going to ask him about how long that process could take for approval, or how long, I guess, a decision would be made. I just sent a message to him. I know he was in a meeting, walking into a meeting when he called, so I'm hoping that he can attend today, because I think it'd be helpful for us to move forward along with the rest of the agenda today. I'm guessing he will. It probably just be here a little later, so we might have to flip some things around, but yes, correct. The agenda item for the stakeholder, sorry?
The dates of the stakeholders table.
Yeah, it's Thursday, March 27th. The date we have selected was the Daniel Spectrum. We're still waiting on Fareed to make confirmation, and we have already submitted the business case proposal to gain to get the money to cover the expenses. And that would be $5,000 in total for the year, with a breakdown of $1,250 for each meeting. Thursday, March 27th, correct, yes.
Yeah, maybe Brandy, you can just put it in the chat that they will get, yes, exact correct date and a timing, even if you have decided about the timing, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But normally it is the start from 4 to 8.
I
We
think
have
it
it
was
2 hands.
okay.
Yes, if you can just, thank you very much, Brandy. The Gail and Adonis. Gail, please go ahead.
Just concerned about not getting the response back. So is it, because we had the same issue last time, right? So we should really figure out why this could be happening. And I would say that if this is indeed urgent, then we should just send an email to Kelly, who is, I think, managing the Spectrum, or director, or whatever that role is. And just so we can say, hey, look, we sent a couple emails and followed up. We haven't heard a response. Can you, follow up on this? Because we also had the same thing the last time we did this meeting as well. And then maybe the other option is that we should look at a possible alternative location as an option as well.
Thank you very much, Gail. I appreciate. We have the hands up. Adonis, please go ahead.
Yeah, so just in terms of the going back to the upcoming stakeholders table, let's confirm the time around that, and if we're who's providing catering for that. So let's try to get the logistics of that. So what is the time?
Okay, so the time is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with registration opening up at 5:30 p.m. Unfortunately, I no longer feel capable of arranging the food. I'm not sure if anybody knows what happened at our last in-person hybrid meeting, but there was a little bit of issue about the meat. Not the food provider that I used did not have a halal certificate, and it caused a little bit of an issue. So I will be backing out of making those arrangements, and I passed it on to someone who has better understanding of how to order halal foods. So I spoke with Elena, and she offered to take that on. So I'll pass that to Elena.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brandy. Yes, we are, getting the invoices directly from the people who are in the Regent Park, and everybody knows, and they are the Muslims, and always they are providing halal food for most of our programs, from the small one to the big one. Even they have provided for the last to last time for the stakeholders. And by today evening, I'm sending invoices to Brandy that she can forward it to the city for the budget. And this time the budget will go directly maybe to them. I'm not sure how the budget will go, but if it goes directly, that would be very, very convenient for all, that there will not be any talk about that too. But of course we got the invoices. I will forward and you get it, and then we will go based on that. But I make means that's a surety that they are the Muslim. Always they are providing. Even some of them also are working in these carousel cafe also at this moment, and everybody knows them. So there is nothing to be worried about the halal type of the food. And this time it would be a little bit different. Maybe we ask them to pack the food, that it would be more comfortable for others to take it also away if they don't want to have it on the spot. This is about the food. And still we have the hands of the girl, Adonis and Miguel, but the Miguel is the first. Adonis, if you would like to say something, go.
Okay.
Then Miguel, then again Gail. Yes, please.
So quick follow-up question. Are we still aiming for 60 people? I think that was our last target.
That was our last target.
The budget really, it was the last target, but the budget, that they have told me, and the invoices that we got, and the budget and the number of the people based on the invoice, it is for 40 people. We are not having that much of the budget, to go over the 40. I am not sure if we are giving for the 60
Okay,
people,
Richard Kirwan is about to join.
Budget, how the things
Sorry to interrupt, Elena. I'm about to let Richard Kirwan in the room. So we do have some hands, but maybe we can hold off and revisit. All right, everybody ready? Let's. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you, Richard?
Hi, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us. I figured your meeting went late, so thank you so much for joining us today. Does anyone want to jump in here and bring us back to the 1:10 to 2 p.m. item, which is the budget? Who's taking lead on this?
Well, it was a group lead, but it is open to anyone that they can jump up. They can.
I'm happy to do so.
Yes,
Okay,
please go
that'd be
ahead,
perfect.
Adonis. Thank you very much. Still, we have the Miguel hands up. I hope I think the Miguel's hands, it was for the previous agenda items, so we can come back and discuss it. Adonis, please go ahead. Thank you.
So welcome, Richard. So in terms of what we had agreed to was that the planning committee would submit 4 business cases. And there's others in consideration, but the 4 that the planning committee approved was for the stakeholders table, for the communication strategy for Regent Park TV, the co-chair honorariums, and administrative position after May 31st, 2025. We're going to go through each of those ones so that you could see what we're asking for. Brandy, can you bring up the business case for the stakeholders table meeting? And I'm going to ask that if we, for everybody to hold their questions until after we go through each of the ones for the sake of time, if that's okay.
Yes, Adonis, thank you very much for reminding everyone. That's the same request from my side too. Thank you.
Okay, Adonis, I only have the one that I submitted. The one that we were making revisions, I don't have.
Okay,
here.
so let's start with the two then that we have, which is the
Yeah.
stakeholders table.
Okay. Oh, sorry, that's the one I was telling you, the one I already submitted. That was before the suggestions that you made to have it. I can still show that one, but I think we
The
should start with,
revisions?
yeah, I think we should start with the Regent Park TV
Okay,
and then circle
so-
back to that.
Okay, so Richard, as you know, we're submitting for the stakeholders table. You've seen it, but we made some revisions on it. But essentially, it's to do 4 stakeholder tables over the year. Correct me if I'm correct, Brandy?
Yes, correct.
And each of the stakeholders, we're asking for $5,000 for
Yes.
each of the stakeholders table to support the food, to support the childcare, to support most of that's to food and childcare, I believe.
Correct.
This is the baseline when we're submitting when we made the $1,250. We're talking about the baseline because we intend that more people will be coming as our communications and promotions get out there. So that's the baseline. And after that $1,250, we would try to fundraise for anything above that we need. So essentially, that's for budget for approximately 40 people. And so as we anticipate over the year that more and more people are coming, we're going to try to fundraise to supplement that budget. So the $1,250 we're asking the city to give us as a baseline. So, and that includes for the childcare as well. So that's the stakeholders table request. And again, it supports the engagement of the whole community, all the stakeholders, to come out to our meetings, to make decisions, give feedback, and to provide what the work opportunities for them to hear what the working groups are working on and how people could get engaged. And again, to get feedback from the community. The next business case is related to the SDP communication strategy with Regent Park TV. And this one we have, I don't think you've seen this one. Essentially, this was discussed with the planning committee and was approved. Essentially, the community feels that the Regent Park TV and its work on Catch the Flavor is important to the SDP, and that's the basis of this business case. So the description is that this project is a key component of the SDP's communications working group strategy to promote the SDP, to keep the Regent Park community informed of the SDP and its work, and to document and archive the work of the SDP along with its challenges and successes for future research and evaluation purposes. Essentially, this project seeks to partner with Focus Media Arts Center and Regent Park TV to subsidize the salary of an experienced half-time community journalist, a resident of Regent Park, dedicated to filming, video, editing, archiving, and promoting the work of the SDP. Focus is currently fundraising in hopes to identify additional supplementary funds to make this a full-time position. So we're asking, at this point, we're asking for the city, Fruitia's operation and funds to provide for half-time. And we're hoping to find the funds to make it a full-time position. Working in partnership with the SDP Communications Working Group, the SDP Network, the journalist, which Focus seeks to retain, whose position currently ends in March, will continue the past 3 years of his work by providing the members of the community and general public with full video recordings and written summaries of all the quarterly SDP stakeholder table meetings, video and written summaries of recordings of all the weekly SDP planning committee meetings, individual video coverage and written status and updates of all key decisions, activities, and events of the SDP, and as much as possible, provide video coverage of all city funding projects of the SDP. So these are the 11 city funded projects of the SDP. As part of this project, Focus will maintain the community Zoom accounts. All videos will be publicly accessible on Regent Park TV on the YouTube page with almost 2,000 subscribers. And written summaries of recordings along with video links will be provided in Catch the Flavor monthly newsletter, a newsletter dedicated to promoting the work of the SDP in the Regent Park community. It currently has 1,800 subscribers. Additionally, rptv video links and Catch the Flavor monthly issues will be available on the community for distribution on the SDP weekly email list that Brandy sends out, and the Hello Neighborhood app. The purpose, again, is to retain the community journalists dedicated to increasing community engagement and cohesion. Again, the staff positions that we have actually end in March. So it's really, we're really hoping that we have some funding to sustain that position and to increase their hours afterwards. So the purpose is keeping the community informed of the work of the SDP, broadcasting and promoting the work of the SDP on Regent Park TV and Catch the Flavor newsletter, on the Hello Neighborhood app, and then on the SDP email serve, documenting and archiving the work of the SDP for future research and evaluation purposes. The implementation of this will be implemented by the Focus Media Arts Center working in partnership with the Communications Working Group and the SDP Planning Committee. The funding request is for the remainder of the 2025 year, beginning April 1st to December 31st, 2025, is $15,174. If you go down a bit, Brandy, it supports 15 hours a week over the next 39 weeks at $22.50 an hour plus the 13% benefits. And it comes out to $14,874. And then the professional one Zoom account is $300. We have two Zoom accounts. Again, Focus is supplementing that. The activities are to be carried out from April the 1st to December 31st. And all the deliverables are in total to produce 55 videos for RPTV and 55 written reports of Catch the Flavor. So the idea is that every time a video is done, as an article is done, and it will be in Catch the Flavor with the links to the video. So here's the 55 content that we're delivering would be to promote and archive the 3 quarterly SDP stakeholder meetings. It's the spring, fall, and winter, so that includes the March. Document and video written, to document video and written to promote and archive 25 to 39 SDP Planning Committee meetings. There are 39 weeks left in the over the year, the rest of the year, starting April 1st. And some of the SDP meetings are not recorded or that are very much logistic. So we estimate that approximately 25 to 39 of these planning committees we will broadcast. And when we broadcast, we put an introduction to it. We try to give people what the contents are to it, and we put that for people to see. We also produce 4 to 6 videos of coverage of major decisions related to the SDP. So this may be things that we might want to highlight, such as before it was the strategic planning. Maybe it might be about the new ambassadors coming in. So basically to provide information to the community. We also will document and promote and archive a minimum of 12 relevant monthly meetings of working groups. So we estimate that in the next 39 weeks, that many of the safety, EED, communications, or community building will want to promote their work and want to film some of their meetings. And we are allocating at least 12 of those videos to do that. So we're going to be filming 12 meetings. And then we're going to film 3 events that are put on the SDP, including the Sunday in the Park. Again, the other 2 events will depend on what the SDP feels that they would, what events would need to be covered. And then we're going to be partnering with funded projects, which are, there are 11 of them, to produce information videos on each of the 8 to 11 city funding SDP projects. So that is our plan to do so. Those are the 2, so that's for the RPT business case that we're submitting to the city. Again, I want to emphasize that this is for 15 hours a week. We're committed to trying to increase that to another 15 hours. We're trying to fundraise for that position. The next one we talked about, and my understanding is we don't have the business cases yet, again, but it is for honorariums, co-chair honorariums. I think there is essentially if we had our full chance, we want to be able to provide co-chair honorariums to each of the co-chairs involved with the working groups. So essentially there are a market co-chair and a resident co-chair. However, lately we have been discussing in turn to, because we don't, we've been discussing providing at least one of a minimum of 1 honorarium per working group. And then that the working group could decide if they want which co-chair they want to provide an honorarium. However, we do want both co-chairs. We feel it's important. These are volunteer positions. They all serve an important role in terms of facilitating the workly meetings and co-chairing some of the subcommittees. We think it's really important that these co-chairs, both co-chairs, get honorariums. The other thing that we want to do, again, a very important role, actually the most important role, is the administration position, currently done by Brandy, of course. The position that we have now ends May 31st, 2025. So we're submitting a proposal that we continue this staffing position for the remaining of the year. Again, very critical in terms of getting people to the planning meetings, being able to help with the agenda planning. Brandy sits on many of the subcommittees. She also attends many of the working groups, and also does so much of the supportive work that is really critical to this position. So we really want this position filled. So those are the 4, currently the 4 that we are looking at, that we feel is critical for the continuation of the SDP. There are a couple more that we are also thinking about, but we're not ready to, the planning committee has not made a decision as of yet, and that we are still thinking about. So yeah, these are the 4 that we are submitting. So I'd like to start with Richard, if you have feedback, but also if any other community members do as well.
Thank you very much. Adonis, I'm sorry, I just step out. I'm not sure that you finished or you are continuing, Adonis.
No, I'm opening to questions, whether, well, we all wanted to hear from Richard in terms of feedback around these proposals, what he's thinking about. I know that there may be other decision makers that need to be informed about this, but Richard, maybe you could walk us through, first of all, walk us through the process of how decisions are made after these business cases are decided, and if you have any feedback individually to the business cases.
Yeah, before Richard jumps in to share his thoughts, I just want to make it very clear that we have, when it comes to the co-chairs, our goal as a social development plan is social cohesion and inclusion, and the delays in co-chairs not receiving the honoraria is causing resentment, and it's actually undermining that goal of social cohesion. I think it's very important to explicitly say that we want honoraria for both co-chairs, the market and TCHC, right? This is volunteering. If they were paid per the hour, it will be more than what they're getting in honoraria, and they're not employees. They're giving their time, they're volunteering their time. So just as a way to reduce barriers, and noting that poverty impacts both TCHC and market residents in Regent Park. So just want to note that before we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walid. And we have the, Gail hands, but I request everyone to keep, your question after the Richard has spoke out. Please, if you can just keep it, that would be perfect. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Get back to the Adonis and Richard.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
let's
think
hear
if-
from
hold on,
Richard
sorry.
first and then open it up to everybody else.
Sorry, if Walid got to speak, I think it's only fair that Gail speaks as well.
It's
All
all
right,
good.
if-
I'm a team player, Richard. So yeah, you go ahead and then I will. I'm good, my friend. You know that. Come on.
I appreciate Richard. Thank you.
Just keeping it in line. So just to be clear, the honorariums, Walid, I completely agree. The honorariums were late, given for multiple reasons. One, business cases. Two, the transition in staff for with Brandy from the last person. I've asked for the breakdown of kind of months served and just timelines on what has been said. So I got that breakdown. Now there's someone that is questioning the breakdown that they should be getting full payment. So we'll have to go through that. Once we figure that out, then we'll go through the other person. My understanding is that everything runs from January to December. I got an email saying that the co-chairs run from April to April or something along that, go into another year. So that's a clarification that we can, if I can get clarification on that. When do the co-chairs start the year? My understanding is it's calendar year. But I was told in an email today that it's April to April. So if we can clear that up, as soon as we clear that conversation up, then the honorariums will be, a Schedule A will be drawn up and the honorariums will be given out as per what Brandy has sent.
Thank you very much, Richard. We have two hands. Yeah, Michael, please just wait because we have the 2-3 hands. Now, regarding this, we have a dual hands also. I'm not sure which one of you want to, really answer the Richard questions. I request everyone just hold up and we go to the dual. Please just clarify that one. And then we go to Gail, Michael, and Miguel. Thank you.
But I wanted to actually raise a different point before I can answer Richard, your question too, but we are talking about, if I recall correctly, maybe 2022, but certainly 2023 honoraria.
No, we're talking about 2023 and 2024.
2023, okay, so not 2022. So the 2023 would definitely be January to December because that's the way that the previous year was done. So to continue on in that, and I think that's quite some time in the past. So hopefully the 2023 doesn't need to be delayed unless you want to have them together. And then so for my suggestion, so that the cycle that we are trying to institute for co-chairs being sort of renewed or new ones coming in is in I believe September or October according to the terms of reference. I don't know, the April to April is not something I'm familiar with, but I would say nevertheless for even for 2024, I think the idea of prorating it according to the number of months served is the accurate way to do it. I think I think if you want to switch over to a different kind of cycle, that would perhaps happen for the next time around. But we have a practice of giving the honoraria on a calendar year basis. That's been the case to date.
Perfect. So that's clear. So it's 2024, 2025. Sorry, it's 2024 will be, and if depending on when they started, it will be prorated. We can't just hand out like random pots of money because you like someone joined. It's not how it works. I think it's the only fair way to do it is to prorate it, and it's again, it's there's nothing that we can do there. If someone starts in September and they go to December, that's not fair that they get that, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Maybe we can go back to the Michael and then Miguel and then Valley, they have a hands by the time the Gail will come back. Yes, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that's the simple solution for the timing of the co-chairs is they may come on at different times in the year, and our normal time is September or October, but they may come on at different times. But just take the portion of the time served within each calendar year and prorate it, as everybody has been suggesting. And I understood that that's why you were asking for those times in the first place. So I think that's the thing to do, is just pay them for whatever number of months they served in 2023 and 2024. And you, I think, have been or will be fully updated on the time when each person was there during those times. So I hope that straightens that out. But our main purpose today was to discuss the proposals for 2025. So hopefully we can get on to that part of the discussion and hear what Richard thinks about those ones.
No problem. So
Thank you very
we
much,
can end that
Michael.
conversation. I think a few people have verified it. Waleed said something about the terms of reference. I'm not sure what that lies in or where that is. But Miguel
But
is
that shouldn't affect you because, yes, they start in September, but then you pay them for a portion of that year and a portion in the next year. You go just by the calendar year.
All right. Thank you for that. I'll just because Miguel's hands are Gil's. I think Gil's is a legacy hand, Miguel's hand, and Waleed's hand, and then
Yes.
Regent Park, and we'll finish this topic and move on to the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yes, Gail, if you are there, you go ahead. Okay, I don't hear from, okay, Gail, okay, she doesn't have. Miguel, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's regards to the chairs and co-chairs roles and stipends, honorariums. Well, it is right to say that the terms of reference of the SDP calls for election every year. We have reached an inconvenience with one of the committee tables, the Regent Park Safety Network. Apparently, the interpreted.
Can we stick on topic, please?
reference-
Whoever is facilitating, can we just stick on topic, please?
Say it again. I can hear.
Yes,
Can we stay on topic,
Ye-
please? Facilitator.
yeah, I'm not sure, what the Miguel is going, to say, but we are going, to discuss, Miguel, the same topics regarding this co-chair, and he was talking about that. I'm not sure.
This is a situation that has to come out to the clear, because the reason why we have a SDP refresh is that they will identify gaps in the way we run the SDP as an immature community. I'm trying to be mature here to ensure that we follow the terms of reference. Every year we have to have an election. It's not that you interpreted the rules your own way and extended your chair position for another 3 years. That opens up to have
Miguel,
and to have
Miguel,
another refresh.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Just please,
I'm
yeah,
telling you
just
the truth.
yeah, thank you very much. We have the other hands, Miguel, that they wanna, Miguel, please calm down, Miguel. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. We have other hands that we want to just, talk about the honorarium and then wind up that one. And then definitely we get back to other agenda items. Walid, you have a hand, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to encourage folks to respect the facilitator and not to jump in and comment and interrupt the discussions. This is how we get other people rallied up and upset. So if you want to be a team player, please listen to the facilitator. Secondly, I don't understand what the source of confusion is. We have a terms of reference. The City of Toronto has access to the terms of reference. The SDP, just like the City of Toronto, operates in a fiscal year from January to December. I don't understand what's going on, to be honest. I don't understand what the source of confusion is. I wish Richard could elaborate because there were business cases put forward with January to December. So I don't know where the confusion stemmed from. So I would like an explanation as to who caused the confusion, because all these business cases were vetted by the planning committee and submitted by our coordinator. So we have been waiting for over a year for co-chairs to be compensated. It is not respectful. And I'm, to be honest, getting really upset about this because this is not supposed to happen, especially with large organizations like the city and TCHC, knowing that this is an expectation they've set. So if it's not budgeted for, if it's an issue of not having enough funds, then we need to know now so we could advocate for those funds to be allocated for that. But it is causing the opposite of cohesion. When we have co-chairs complaining to me in private, what is going on? Is my work not being respected? Is my efforts not respected? Why is this being delayed over and over again? So I just would like for us to come to some conclusion. It's already February, my friends, of 2025, on the last year of SDP funding. So if we could just get an answer to that, that'd be greatly appreciated. And lastly, I just want to say, please, let's be aware that there was a decision made by the stakeholders table to create new working groups. So there will be potentially co-chairs of a youth working group and a seniors working group that we also need to budget for and allocate funds for. So I'm hoping that we could work moving forward to try to secure a business case or a business plan or whatever we want to call it to ensure that they're also treated with respect when they do start those working groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Walid. Yes, Richard, would you like to speak out, or Brandy, anyone?
So using the word that we don't respect, Walid, is disrespectful to me and to what we're doing here. The SDP as a whole was late to deliver those original business case for the honorariums. So those came halfway through last year. So when we're looking at things, I think we all have to take responsibility for where we're at and what we're doing. So to call me out and say that this is that or that is that we don't respect what the community is doing, I think that's completely offside and frankly inappropriate to say this. You sit here and we have these conversations, and using that language is what it is, but I don't agree with it. The question is the honorariums. We were trying to sort some things out, like I said, and we got those sorted out. After Brandy had presented those to you all, I got an email from somebody to say that they should be paid the full 500, even though they had certain things. So that's where the questioning stems from. We don't have to mention people's names. It doesn't matter. But that's where we're at, and that was the question that was originally asked. So that's the answer to that. As we're moving over onto rptv, Adonis, the question is, how does that differ from what you applied for the 500K? And I asked that solely because the 500K is an amount of money that went through a grant process. For the table to come back, we can talk offline about it, Walid. For us to come back, or we can talk here, either or, it doesn't matter to me. We come back to the rptv piece. If that is a similar project that was applied for through the grant and now is coming through to apply for thank you for that, Joel, is applied to come through for the through the 50K, like then everyone that didn't get the grant could come and try to apply for money through the 50K. So we're not doing that. We're not having that conversation of you weren't successful there, then you come to the 50K and we start doing that whole piece. So like if you can define how that differs, then we can take a look at it. But if it doesn't differ, like it's not a major difference from what the actual grant was applied for to what this is, I think there's like we can't even look at that for the 50K. That being said, this is an organization asking for this money. RPTV is an organization within the community asking for some of the 50K. Is that a practice that we want? Do we want organizations that are sitting at this table to be able to ask for money from the 50K to go towards some SDP activities that are in here? That's setting a different precedent and a whole different conversation, I think. But yeah, if I haven't looked at it. These are things that are just being thrown at me right now on the spur of the moment. The only one I've looked at is the stakeholders table. So that being said, I guess we could go through that and then I'll circle back up to the thing. But what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, I can answer that difference. Yeah, Richard, so that yes, we did put a proposal for the 500K regarding Regent Park TV. But that proposal for Regent Park TV was to support 2 full-time staff members. And it was support to the work of Regent Park TV across the whole community, meaning every group that we identified that was doing important work in Regent Park that we would film, including the work of the SDP. We would also use radio as part of that as well. That was part of a whole radio piece as well that we put together. This proposal is to support a half-time staff member, a resident of Regent Park. And it's specifically just to do work about the Regent Park TV. That's the work that we have been in terms of continue to doing, which we will not do any longer as of March 31st when that position ends, which is providing the Zoom accounts for the Regent Park community. That is providing all the planning committees, archiving all the planning committees that are here, including today, with an introduction and putting it up and making it available to Regent Park TV, writing descriptions of each of the planning committees, summarizing in the Quetzal Flavor newspaper what the SDP is all about, but basically each of the meetings that's done. That is for filming and supporting the SDP meetings when they do the hybrid meetings and recording those meetings. That is, again, it's all about engaging members to be involved with the SDP and to communicate information and decisions about the SDP, including city decisions related to the SDP. That's what this, and it's not the funded groups of the SDP is the city's funded groups. It's not about focus promoting ourselves. It's about promoting the work of the SDP and the city funded projects of the SDP. So that's the work that we have put in there. And that is not a part of the proposal that we put in. It's a totally separate thing. I think you just have to focus on this is about increasing engagement of the SDP and communicating the activities of the SDP and decisions of the SDP. And that's the work that we are putting to put at this for this proposal. And it's part of the communications working group. So that's, I don't know what I mean, you have a different proposal about supporting organizations. This is not about an organization. It's about, yes, we support the implementation of the supervision of the staff, but really this is about ensuring that this work continues, that I feel is important work in terms of the SDP. And that the community feels it's important. If they don't feel it's important, I'm happy not to do it. I could do it. The focus could be doing other things with our funding and staff support.
Yeah, so my thing, my piece isn't, I understand what Focus does, and like it's great work. It's not about that. It's about was the SDP so you say you had two staff. My understanding is from what your proposal was, is that there was this work inside your proposal to do work with the SDP, to do these similar things with the SDP. That's where we'd have to have a conversation offline, or you'd have to show me the differences between the two, because the reality is, like, if that, then everyone could come and just like cut their project in half and be like, okay, we need this money from here, we need this money from here, and we don't want to create that. So it's not about you and the work that you do. It's not that. I understand like what the level of work is. It's that we're setting a precedent if we start to look at what didn't get funded for the 500K, then they can come to the 50K and look to get funded for a portion of whatever the topic is. So that would be something that would have to be defined. And obviously I haven't seen the rptv, I haven't seen the business case at all. I just seen it scrolling up and down a screen for 30 seconds. So that would have to be a much more a larger conversation that we've had, and we've already had this conversation before this kind of thing, and that was something that we were letting the process of the 500K go through to understand what the difference is. And I've looked at that application after we had our conversation, and it had similar pieces in it that you spoke to today. So I would just like to see what are the differences, and that they're not attached. So we'll follow up with that again. I have to be sent
that. But I will also want to keep in mind that rptv wasn't involved in the decision making of this. This was the planning committee who made that decision. Weren't involved in the decision making.
Yeah, I'm not, Adonis, I'm just like,
I get
mapping it out, and I understand where you guys are coming from and what you guys do. I'm not, and I understood, I already, I didn't know, but I know that you're savvy enough to take yourself out of that conversation. So I assume that you had taken yourself out of that conversation for that process.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Adonis. Yes, Michael, go ahead, and then we have the hands of another gentleman that he joined us today. Yeah, Michael, go ahead at this moment. Thank you.
Okay. So, all right. So then at the end there, I understood then that Richard and Adonis both understand that this proposal is coming from the SDP Planning Committee, not from Focus. So it's actually not a Focus proposal. It's an SDP Planning Committee proposal, and we would happen to give the work to Focus, but it's not Focus coming around and asking the second time for this money. And obviously, anybody can send you a letter asking for anything, and you would say no if it was something like that. But that's not what this is. This is the Planning Committee asking for money to publicize and do the work of the Communications Working Group. And the fact that it would be a Focus that's actually doing that is incidental. We could theoretically have somebody else do it. I mean, Focus is obviously the one who's prepared and able to do it, but it's a proposal from the SDP Planning Committee. It's no different from if we make a proposal for food, and then we go to a caterer and say, well, we're using you to provide this, but it wasn't the caterer who made the proposal. It was the SDP. And I think it's the same thing in this case.
You'll find a place to cut into it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. The resident has the hands out, and then yes.
Yeah.
And then Brandy. Resident?
Yeah, I would like to speak about this social development plan. In Regent Park, there as we we are the community of the Regent Park Town Right Association as organization. Our youths are requesting there are few demands. I don't know, is it, I think so this will come into in this topic, I hope so. If it's not this topic, please guide me. The Regent Park youths are asking, requesting me to, as a Regent Park Town Right Association, the youths are, they need some kind of, summer job, and what kind of, at least part-time. Or last year they did not get the summer job, and also how we can how we can involve this youth in this, through this getting the uh, fund through this platform. And also we have an organization named called Regent Park Islamic Resource Center as a organization registered, and we are doing so many kind of activities, but we are putting our own fund to get involved with the youth to be a good citizen. And what kind of help you can give through this committee?
Thank you very much, Resident. Yes, but it was not related to the question. I request everyone, when the Richard has put the valuable time for us, please ask only the related question that he would be able, to answer. The other topics, it will be discussed after the Richard has left us. Thank you very much. Yes, Brandy, you have a hands up, and then Valid. Thank you very much. Brandy, go ahead.
Thank you. Just for clarification, when it just to explain how I did the calculations for the co-chair payments, I did use the calendar year. So if that is, that's what it said in the terms of reference, that's what I followed. If there is a deviation to that, then those calculations for 2023 and 2024 would have to be redone. So can we just get like consensus that we are sticking with from January till December? Because if that's so, then the numbers we calculated are right. If not, they will have to be redone. So I just wanted to say that on record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandy. Yes, Valid, go ahead. You have a hands up. Valid, your hands is up. Still, you want to talk?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I was just getting off another meeting. So folks, we follow our terms of reference. Thanks Joel for that response in the chat. This business cases related to co-chairs was submitted on March 28th, 2024. Next month will be March, so we'll be approaching 12 months since this business cases was submitted to the city. I think when anyone is asking for reimbursement or asking for payment, there's a 30-day window. After 30-day windows, people will get upset. And reasonably, they will get upset because they will feel that they're not a priority. And when I come to this meeting and share with all of you, including Richard from the city, that I have had conversations with my fellow co-chairs who feel disrespected, who feel neglected, because they've been waiting for months. Some of them actually have moved on from their term and are waiting or are wondering whether they will even be considered for an honoraria in 2025. I think it's an opportunity through this meeting to sound the alarm and ask us to collectively do better. Because I don't think any resident should be made to wait a year to receive an honoraria. And I don't think submitting it in March of 2024 was late. I think waiting until March of 2025 is late. So I hope we don't take offense to the facts. We treat each other with empathy and appreciate that this is community work. And we have to be actually reasonable and caring of each other. Like, I just don't know how to better communicate. Please, let's just have an answer. Will an honoraria be given out to the co-chairs or not? Because if not, then we could fundraise. I will openly start an initiative to raise funds for my co-chairs. I'll do that, but I need to know from the city if they'll do so. When we had no funding for Sunday in the Park, people came through and made donations to make it happen. And I think we can get donations from the community if the city is not willing to use or utilize the funds in the barrier reduction fund, the 50K, which is meant for barrier reduction, if they don't think that's a priority. I just need to know. I need to know from Richard. I need to know from John Smith. I need to know from someone at the city that whether we're moving forward with this or not. That's all I'm asking for, because we've done our due diligence. So waiting from March of 2024 to maybe now March of 2025 is not reasonable. So I'll leave that point. I just want us to come to closure. Yes, Waleed, it's happening. No, Waleed, it's not. So we could plan for the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Waleed. Richard, if you would like, to speak out, please. Floor is yours. Thank you.
I've already answered that question. I said Brandy sent the forms and the money will be sent out. So I don't know why. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've already answered.
Like when, Richard? Like this year in March, this year in April, like when?
Did I not just say I'm processing them and sending out a Schedule A to get it done? That's what it was said, right?
Yeah, but we've heard this
Okay,
before.
so that's my answer.
So we'll just have to wait until it happens, basically. Okay.
So we've moved on. Are we going back? Are we going back
Yes.
items? I don't understand where we're going here. What are we talking
I'm just
about? What's
asking a
next?
simple question, like what's
And
the
I answered it,
timeline?
Waleed. I answered your question, and I said
I
I'm gonna
missed it.
start.
I missed it. Maybe you could remind me. When is the timeline? Is it next
Waleed.
month? 2 months
Waleed.
from now?
Waleed, now you're being condescending, and
I'm not being condescending, my friend.
Valid,
I just told you.
Get an answer, and you don't want to give me
just
an
had the
answer.
conversation that
Valid,
I will be
request you,
I will
yes.
be processing the Schedule A,
Okay.
and the money will get out there. Brandy has just sent me them last week because of a situation, and I explained the whole thing. You're going back and saying all these other things that are not factual. You're making up facts, and you're now putting me on the thing without having actual facts behind that. We had this conversation.
What was not factual?
Valid,
Hold on,
please.
Waleed.
Valid,
Waleed.
I
What was,
request
name
you
one thing
to-
that was
Valid,
not factual.
Valid,
Hold on.
Because you're attacking me
valid.
right now, and I don't like that.
Elena's
Attacking.
facilitating. Let Elena facilitate.
Yes,
Des?
Valid. I request you just please. We all have taken the answer from the Richard, and I understand that the Richard, as soon as he received the documents, he will proceed for that. That definitely it will not taking much time. It depends, when he will receive the documents. So I request you, to calm down, Valid, and we are not, arguing or discussing more about this. And that's logic into this. As soon as the Richard will receive, I'm repeating, as soon as the Richard receive the complete documents, he will proceed for us. And thank you very much to all. I appreciate. Yes, Adonis, please go ahead.
Yeah, so Richard, the other position, which is quite important, is the administrative position after May 31st, 2025. I know that have we sent a business case for that yet? Brandy?
No, we have not.
Okay. But Richard, obviously this is important to the SDP. What is the feeling at this point around supporting this position, continuing supporting this position?
So this ties into Miguel's question, I think, that he has around the ambassadors piece. This is, we're slowly figuring out what the priorities are for the 50K. One of the priorities to Razdeen's point is youth. That will be a major priority. We already have a youth table that's been set up. That is somewhat functioning. We have youth workers sitting on that table as well. And we're looking at the youth workers are looking at supporting the youth. So that table is currently in process of being set up. So that'll be a priority. The youth will be a priority. The administrative position, we have to see where that fits in within the ambassador models. Is that lead position going to be a lead ambassador? What is that going to look like? We haven't fully figured that out. We've committed to, I think it's $10,000 to push that administrative position to May 31st, 2025, but we haven't got any further from that. And again, all these 50K budget things, I've said this multiple times to this table, these should all be done in the previous year to set up for this year. Asking for co-chair honorariums in the year of 2025. Again, I've said this multiple times to everyone that these need to be done prior to the year that the ask is for, not in the year that the ask is for. That's been said multiple times. So there needs to be, moving forward, we need to look at how these asks and what's happening can be done earlier, September, October, November. You can go in and then asked then. So then when we look at the 50K, we can look at what we're budgeting, what are the priorities. I've said this multiple times to this group, but it doesn't seem to be resonating with the group at all.
Thank you very much, Richard. Jewel has the hands up. Jewel, please go ahead.
Just on the timing of things, I think this table would be quite capable of getting you any business cases you want at an earlier time. I think we maybe need a little bit more sort of communication about what it is that we can, the way that we can frame things. I don't even think, for myself anyway, it wasn't clear that you would be receiving business cases. We're hearing a lot about how things are changing, and it's not clear how we can be engaging productively with the city's SDP approaches. So great to hear that you want to have stuff earlier. I think we can do that. I think that does land. I don't think there's a lack of receptivity to that message. Maybe you feel you've communicated that clearly, and perhaps you have. It hasn't been clear to me, and it hasn't been brought up in meetings to do this in a clear way. So we can certainly work to get to a better place, and let's work at that together.
Thank you very much, Jewel. Yes, Michael, please go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've always been asking for these things to be done earlier, but I think we're just getting back into the sort of routine of making sure we do submit business cases every year, and we've gotten to it at this point. I've been asking for this since around November or December. We can certainly do it earlier next year. I mean, I was under the impression that for the administrative position, we had asked for it in December or thereabouts, and that we'd asked for a full year. So to me, that one's just a reminder of the fact that we have actually asked for a full year. Maybe that was miscommunicated and you never heard that or something, I don't know. But as my understanding was, we had always intended that before January, you would know that we were asking for the full year on the administrative position. Maybe that was miscommunicated, or maybe it was a decision on your part to only fund it till May. But whatever it was, to me, this one is just a response to the fact that the existing funding runs out in May, and that we had always intended it to be a full year. I hope that was not miscommunicated at some point, but we're just putting it on the table now that we did intend this to be the full year of 2024.
Thank you very much, Michael. Raising, I would like to request you to contact the Jewel about those resources. The Jewel has put his email address as well as the number you can contact. At this moment, I don't see any related things, to the whatever we are discussing. Thank you very much. And Miguel and Walid, they have the hands up. The first, Miguel go, and then Walid, I request you, if there is something related to this, please calm down, and then, you can speak out. Thank you very much, both. Miguel, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, speaking about the administrator positions that we are challenged with a gap for salaries until we submit any business case proposal to the city. It's quite a shock, and that was a requirement for us to do last year for this year. I want to know if the city is willing to give us a chance to amend ourselves so that this doesn't happen again in the next year, to release emergency funds to cover our operating budget, which includes all the members that require to have paid this year after May. After May, we're gonna be with a good challenge to pay, extreme challenge. I'm hearing comments of fundraising events, but these people, Richard, they are our staff. They are the backbone of this revitalization. They are the ones who are ensuring that the SDP is a success. So I want you to understand that we are a very young organization, that we have been making mistakes a lot, but we're trying to amend it. We're trying to become more responsible, aware of the changes at the last minute is complicated. So please release some funds, give us that break. That's what we're asking, is give us a break. And then from now on, we're gonna be in compliance with the request of the city to make the business case ahead of a year. But don't put us in this position that we may lose them. We may lose our staff, and who else is gonna take that on a volunteer position? It's quite challenging and difficult to find help. Please, I ask you to speak to your superiors, John Smith, whoever's in charge of the department. Give us a break. Release emergency funds. You can do that, guys. Come on.
So
Thank you very much.
So
Yes,
we'll
you're
lead
very-
Miguel, sorry, it's not about releasing the emergency funds. We just have to figure out how that fits into the larger piece of the ambassador, like of the ambassadors, or whatever they're going to be called. Like there's different language for them, whatever. One of the things is that that's 20,000. The request ask here is another 15K, another 5K, another 5, 10, 20, 30. That's we're already over 50K from the asks that just have come in today, with including the 20K plus the other areas of focus. There's no other money for any other areas of focus. So we're just trying to figure out how that fits in, Miguel, because there is a need to have other support, and what that falls into the other thing around co-chairs and what they look like. What does a co-chair look like? Does a co-chair become an ambassador? Do they get paid more? Is there a different role? This is all some of the conversations that we're trying to figure out, but we have 1 or 2 months left to kind of figure this piece out and really look at how we roll it out. And it's not just for these tables, it's for Regent Park as a whole. And just to be completely clear, that 50K is the City of Toronto's operating budget to support the social development plan, which fits on capacity building, barrier reduction, and support to residents as a whole.
Thank you very much, Richard. Richard, I have a question. You are asking, for example, 2025, we put up our proposal for the co-chair honoraria, ahead of the time. But how we can make sure that within the 2025, the co-chairs that they are present, they will continue for the whole year if we are put up? Means you mean you want to just release the fund? We have to ask for the fund, or we have to send the name of the co-chairs that they are present at this moment, but is there any assurity that they will continue for the whole year or not? This is a little bit of just question from my side that I want to be clear. If you could please, just answer this one. Thank you, Richard. You are muted, Richard.
My apologies. It felt like you asked a few questions there. What was the overall?
The question it was that you are asking, we request for the honoraria and the business case, ahead of the time for the co-chair, for example, right? If you are putting, for example, for 2025, in the end of the 2024, so how we can make sure that those co-chairs will be presented for the whole of the 2025? If we ask a month, so the co-chair should be present, but how we can make sure that they are present? I'm not really, a little bit, I'm confused to understand that, because this type of cases, normally we have to put within the end of the year when the people, they participate and they have some certain, for example, months or the hours, right? So then we can ask and calculate the hours and just send it for the request, honoraria. But if we ask, ahead of the time, how we can make sure that the co-chairs are present really for the full year? And if we get the budget earlier, what we are going to do with those that they did not, for example, be presented for the whole year?
Yeah, I think that's a good question around checks and balances and what are the roles of a co-chair and what's different between a co-chair and a resident that is also doing similar work. Like what are the differences and where is the like if a resident is doing similar work, why are they not paid? Just because someone's voted in, does that make sense if they're doing similar work? If Miguel and Elena are, one's a co-chair, one's not a co-chair, Miguel's doing the same work, doing the same stuff, setting things up, doing this or doing that, why would Miguel not be paid? So and Elena would, and I'm just using you two as examples, you're at the top of my screen, but those are all questions that that need to be kind of worked out, is what is the difference and what is that. So I don't think those are fully worked out, but that'll be a follow-up email that we'll have those conversations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate. Yes, we have the valid hands, Michael, and then the Michael, and it is 2:50. I have to really excuse myself because I have another meeting that I have to jump in. And thank you very much, everyone,
you,
especially
Elena.
the Richard that, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Especially the Richard that you have put, your valuable time. I understand, your value of the time.
Thanks, Elena.
And really, personally, I appreciate everyone's, timing. And I get back, to Brandy. Brandy, if you can handle the things, I would be really thankful to you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, everyone, and have a great, a continuation of meeting and definitely the weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.
Good.
Thank you very much.
So folks, I just want to make sure that we're clear here. Recommendations are made by the planning committee, or decisions are made by residents on how they'd like to move forward. And the city doesn't have a separate group that makes decisions. So I'm trying to appreciate from Richard where this ambassador's idea came from, who vetted that idea, who approved that idea. And I'm also trying to appreciate why the funding for the SDP coordinator is until May of this year. I read the motion that was approved in 2019 by City Council very clearly, and there was supposed to be funding for coordinator role or support for the SDP for the 5 years of funding for the projects. So where did that change? Did City Council pass another motion that I'm unaware of? Is SDFA just acting unilaterally while in consultation with a few members of the community or certain hand-selected residents on how to move forward with the SDP? So I'm just trying to understand who made the decision to halt funding for the coordinator role after May of 2025? Because we have people to be accountable to, which are the residents or members of the stakeholders table. So we need to go back and explain in our upcoming stakeholders meeting, what are the operational changes related to the SDP and who made those decisions and who was given the authority to implement those decisions.
Well, what is
I just want to have a better sense of what is actually going on here. Who made the decision of the ambassadors? Who made the decision of the May funding
for the coordinator role, and for it to be stopped in May and not in December? And which motions were passed by council that directed the SDFA to implement these decisions? So those are the things that I hope to answer. And if I can't get an answer here, I'll write to the city to that effect. Thank you.
The first question you're asking is around the coordinator. Is that, and what document is that in? What document are you speaking in? Really?
Speaking of, so we started off the SDFA in year one with
Yep.
support staff from the city.
Yep.
Through which was, I can't remember her name again.
Which
It's
is
so
a
long.
CDW. CDW is the title
Yes.
is CDW, so it doesn't matter the name. The
Then it
community development
changed.
worker.
It changed from that support to now this coordinator role.
No.
And now we were told
No.
late last year by Joel, the YSM, which is acting as a trustee, that the city has sent a message to the trustee that there will be no funds available after May of 2025. So who made that decision?
So that's false. It wasn't that there will be no funds. We'll be reevaluating. So the initial conversation was that we'll be reevaluating and we'll be pushing it forward. You're talking about two separate things. One, you're talking about in the actual council direction was that there will be a staff assigned to the social development plan, correct?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yes.
full
So that
time.
staff is still currently in place. So let's make sure that we don't mix our messages. That's a CDW. The staff that's in place is a CDW, which is Olanike Solomon, who is in that position. The coordinator position that you're talking about is an internal piece that the SDP is talking about. So there's the CDW position, which is still in place and has not moved. And that was supposed to be, that's a 5-year action plan that a CDW would be hired to do this. The original person, I can't think of her name right now, but she was only there for like a month or two. She went back. Then Lindsay came in. Then Daniela came in. Now Olanike's in. So that position hasn't moved and it hasn't left. And you could look up all the records you want and look where you need to look at. That's completely separate from what we're talking about around the Joel piece. Around the YSM taking on the lead for that. That's completely a whole different thing. And that's something that the SDP decided that they would support someone to do the admin portions. That admin position, you can look through that document. I've looked through it a million times. That admin position is not attached there. It's the CDW, which is a City of Toronto permanent full-time. I don't believe it's a permanent position. I believe it is a permanent part-time position, 35 hours a week. That's in there. That's in SDFA's operating budget. So that's completely separate. The next piece you're talking about, the ambassadors. The ambassador piece came out of that refresh project, came out of the recommendations from the consultants. When we've had the conversation in community, that's been very, very, very taken to very well. In a lot of the focus groups, they've talked about ambassadors multiple times, how we can get them hired. There's a gentleman on the call right now who's been a major advocate to look at what we can do with ambassadors, how we can support that. We're currently looking at how we can implement that in the right way so that it supports the admin position to support some of that and to support different roles and functions within the community. We haven't fully mapped that out, but again, that operating budget is focused on reducing barriers, and some of the things that we've seen within the report back from the consultants and the listening sessions is that there needs to be a hyper focus on youth within the community, which there is not, and on this SDP there's not. I don't know if there is any youth that I've ever seen sit on this SDP. So that is a hyper focus for us that we've already started, and we're almost complete of actually setting up that table and looking at how we can engage with other grassroots organizations to join as well. Was there one more question?
Yeah, so
Brandy's
wait, hold on a second. I just wanted to say the
hello?
time is 2:58. Hold on a second, Michael. It's 2:57 p.m. We've got 3 minutes. So perhaps if you want to use the last 3 minutes to speak, we can give you that time. But please, if you have a question or a statement, keep it brief. Thank you.
I just wanted to address the issue of the timing of the business cases and how that, like, I don't think that what Elena said has to be a factor. I understood it to mean we would submit the business cases before the beginning of the year. I mean, this year it's February, but it's still pretty close to the beginning of the year. And then we don't have to name the people in the business case for the co-chairs, right? Those payments can be made later in the year or at the end of the year when you know who was served for how many months. So I don't think that's an issue. We don't have to worry about like what constitutes a co-chair, who did how much work and whatever. By the end of the year, you'll have the months that they served, how many people. But I hope that if we put in the business case by the beginning of the year, or at least in this case February, that we can get the money approved, and then the payments will be figured out once we give you the month that each person has served. So I don't think that one's a problem. As far as the
2:59 p.m.
relationship between the administrators and the administrator and the ambassadors, I see them as very different types of positions. I hope the administrator continues, and I hope the ambassadors that we have an appropriate way of working with them within the SDP, because when tables are being set out outside of the SDP, I mean, we're also setting up a youth table under the working group system. So on the one hand, it's fine for everybody to have this table and that table and whatever, but the tables that are set up outside of the SDP cannot make decisions for the SDP. So let's make sure that if we want to make decisions for the SDP, that we do it within the SDP.
Okay, Michael, it's now 3 p.m. Before you respond, maybe this is something we can have another conversation on if there is some, more information needs to be discussed. But the time is now 3 p.m. And I did want to thank each and every one of you for coming. Richard, if you have any closing remarks, I will give you that opportunity to speak.
Yeah, so I'll answer to the stakeholders meeting. I'll send that next week. Just to be clear, Brandy, correct or incorrect? I have only received one of these pieces.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so
The stakeholders table, correct.
I can't respond to anything I don't have.
Right.
Waleed, I think that's your question in the chat, is when I'm going to respond to them. I don't have them. These were literally thrown upon me right now in this meeting. I personally don't think that's the right way to do this either. It would be nice for me to be able to read them and look at some of the other things and then have those okayed and sorted out, because I do have questions that I want to talk about the stakeholders one that I did get, and what's the difference between this table and a stakeholders table now, if this table can make decisions, but that's for another day. So yeah, I only have one of these, and these were all thrown on me randomly right now. So there's not much that I can help you or support you with on those ones. The stakeholders, I did just get it. I think last week you sent it, or you sent it last week or midweek, Brandy?
Midweek.
Yeah, midweek. So I just read it earlier today, and have to talk with Ola and to see how we're gonna move forward with that and where it aligns with our refresh. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. So this isn't legitimately, I understand that this table could function with 300K, 400K, 500K. The reality is we have a very tiny pocket of an operating budget to support 15,000 residents in multiple different ways. So it's nothing personal. It's along those lines. It's where's the largest need right now in the community that we see, and that community members have said that they see through the refresh and through some of the consultations and the listening sessions that we've done. That's where we'll be allocating those funds. And if if stakeholders table is in there, or the rptv piece, I understand the network. I'd like to know a little more data on how much people that drives to the SDP. What are the amount of numbers, the co-chair honorariums, what is the difference? What are they doing? How is that necessarily benefiting the entire community and not just this table? So there's a lot of questions that I would have throughout that I'll be sending back to the group once I get once I get the proposals. I don't have any of them. So thank you all. It's always good to have conversations, and I know I sit on this thing and you all don't like what I say sometimes, because there's decisions that have to be made, and I agree it's nothing personal against anyone or anybody on this call. It's or in the community. It's just decisions that have to be made, and kind of sucks that I have to make them. And I agree, Miguel. There's tons of budget issues where you could say this should go to this community or this should go to that community. There's a lot that goes on. If any of us did the budget, we might do a little bit different, but we're not elected to do the budget, so we just sit in our corners and do what we can do with what we have. So that's another thing. We're also hopefully that community benefits package starts, and there's a lot more money that starts flowing into the community. So there's a lot going on, and really and truly the 50K, it's a lot of money to the community, and it means a lot. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty small drop in a large community benefits bucket, which, this is what we have. So that's my kind of spiel at the end of it. I don't think it's fair or right, but it is kind of the process that we're going through. And there's different ways to do this. If anyone else was in my position, they might do it a different way, do it this way. But this is kind of where we're at, and we're making sure that community members within Regent Park are all able to be supported by this money and the small pocket of money that it is.
Yeah. Just want to say one thing before Richard leaves. We're all passionate, caring folks who volunteer a lot of our time to support our neighbors, support our community. And, we've spent years building goodwill and showing respect to each other. And although there are interpersonal differences, we want people to walk away with the best experiences being involved in their community. And I just want to make it very clear that I think what's really causing the tension right now is what's going to happen after May of 2024, when we don't have a Brandy, we don't have a coordinator to support the work of the planning committee. Is Ola going to step in? Are city staff going to step in to support the work of the planning committee? And that's a question that I hope Richard considers when he's discussing the synergy, how it's going to look like. Because we actually want the same thing. We want everyone to benefit from investments made in the Regent Park community through a social development plan. We want to tell the story that's going to resonate with decision makers at City Hall as to why these investments are critically important. So I hope in that spirit that we continue to work together, and please, let's just be more attentive to the fact that we're dealing with each other as human beings, and we have emotions and we have feelings.
Absolutely.
And I'm dealing with a lot of that, just being the sounding board of many people in this community.
Right.
I'm like a sponge. It's getting to me now. Thank you.
Okay. It's now
100%.
6 p.m. Just the time.
Yeah.
I'm not
No worries. I completely I'm also a human. I'm also dealing with this. I'm also, working every day. I get calls from residents every day the same way. We all are getting these calls. We know that there's a major need within these communities, within communities across the entire city. Moss Park, there's a lot going on over there. There's a lot going on. Bleecker, there's a ton going on. So, we know that all these communities need support, and we're trying to do the best we can. And there is a human factor in everything as well, and we understand that. And I'm not sitting in a position because I'm sitting here because this is $1 million job. I'm sitting here because I really, one, enjoy the community, two, enjoy the downtown area, and I've been around and in and around these spaces for years and years and years. And Kadar can tell you I've been up in Bleecker for almost 20 years.
You got peoples in Regent Park, Richard.
Yeah, and working and supporting. So I really care about these communities, and I know you all do too. And it just sucks sometimes being on this side of it, where I can't be on the other side and flip my hat around and do what you guys do, because of where I am. But thank you. I appreciate the sentiment, Waleed, and completely agree. We're all here for the right reasons, and we're all here for the same cause.
Absolutely. All right, well, with that being said, everybody, the time is 3:07 p.m. We are going to be ending this meeting, but I thank each and every one of you for showing up here. Thank you, Richard, for coming. I do apologize for getting these last minute items sent over to you. We will be coming together tomorrow. We have a meeting to put together on paper what we presented you today so that you can have a better understanding and look at what it is. And I will make sure in advance you have the time to look over what we're presenting. So my apologies on that one. And if that caused any misconfusion for this meeting. So thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. I will see the planning committee tomorrow in person at Daniel Spectrum to revise these business case proposals.
What time is that?
1 p.m.
Oh, okay.
1 p.m. Daniel Spectrum.
All right.
Thanks, Brandy. Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody. Great job.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow our social media platforms. And for more information, please visit our website.